All right. Let me get my microphone working right. It's a little low here. Sorry about that, everybody. I'll say, yeah, I'm going to have to adjust my volume here, Dale. I don't know if you can hear me, but so I'm going to get my YouTube here cranked up a bit. But yeah, welcome and good evening, everyone, to Area 51 Racing League. Here at Green White Checker TV, we have the Season 7 finale here tonight, and we've got 4 playoff drivers going for the title tonight. So you see them there, scale over on the left to right there. So on the left, in that number 25, is the Kevin Freis. Next to him, the 03, Kevin Hash. The 76 there, Jim Brooks. And then the number 1 of Gabe Butler. Those are going to be our 4 playoff contenders for this evening's championship. There's going to be a few other drivers listed with that little playoff P next to their name. Apologies on that one. That's a mistake on my part. I didn't get it updated in time for the race this evening. But these are the 4 you're going to be watching for tonight. Are going to be that 1, the 03, the 25, and the 76. So say Dale, say Talladega, you got the 3rd groove here. And so I think that's going to really open things up for possibly some changes and some movement around with these guys.
Yeah, and we've already seen, the 3 wide action in practice. Guys are anticipating having to go to that 3rd lane. Pretty happy to see them practicing it, now instead of trying to figure it out during the race.
Yeah, exactly right. So right now everybody's putting down their qualifying laps as they run here. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that as they go, and then we will get things kicked off here in just a few minutes. So give me a moment. We'll get things all squared away here on the on my side. Make sure the audio is working correctly, and then we'll get things kicked off in just a moment. All right, Dale, with that, we've got qualifying has completed. So we got to go over our starting grid for tonight's event. All right, so we're talking about our playoff contenders. Raymond Rittenauer, however, he's going to win that pole position by 0.04 of a second over Kevin Freis. Dean Wilkinson in 2nd. Kevin Hash there in 4th. So those are going to be the first 2 in the playoff drivers are going to be in the 2nd position. The 4th position, Eric Laurie in 5th, Todd Merkel 6th, Charles Johnson 7th, and then Jack Walls in 8th. 9th through 16th, you got Michael Spell, Bud Steele, Nick Manfredi, Quabi Brooks, Matt Wagner, Matt Quick. Gabe Butler, he's opting to start in the 15th position, didn't put down a qualifying time. Kyle Hess in 16th. And then 17th through 21st, you got Dale Willoughby, Jim Brooks, our final playoff driver there. He's going to start towards the back in 18th. Then you got Bobby Hash, Todd Steebles, and John Brill rounding out our 21 drivers. Yeah, same. Bear with me on the audio issues. As I'm trying to get mine squared away. I can definitely see on the, it's still not as high as it should be, so we're going to keep messing with it, and hopefully we'll get it back. But yeah, so say Final Four doesn't matter, bonus points, none of that. It's just going to be who can finish ahead of which driver of those Final Four tonight. Again, it's going to be Kevin Freis, Kevin Hash, Gabe Butler, and Jim Brooks tonight.
I'm kind of surprised to see Gabe Butler and Jim Brooks not qualifying today.
Yeah, I agree with you completely there, Dale. Usually Gabe does qualify as well. That's why I'm a little surprised about that one. We'll have to see. Maybe we'll get the chance to interview him, find out why exactly the decision was made there. But right now, everybody's going ahead and get the grid going on. And yeah, apologies, Carrie Ann. I'm working on getting everything adjusted well here. As I said, I'm not sure what happened, but somehow between Thursday and today, my microphone settings got all kind of discombobulated. So working on it here. I'll keep adjusting, try to get it back to where it was. That way we both sound about equal. And Dale, I think I just figured it out. It's because it changed my microphone on me, so I think I should be back in business here. All right, Dale. So we talked to some of the drivers. We know the scheduled race distance, 75 laps, could become more. Should we get into the green-white checker territory? And we know fuel window is going to be in the low 20s here tonight. So say going to be a 3-stop race, depending how the cautions fall. Which at this point, it's kind of up in the air to see. We've seen, we kind of seen a little bit of both. Where sometimes it's a little bit, maybe get a couple quick cautions, but then a lot of times we've had a lot of caution-free races, and that's where that pit strategy is going to really come into play here tonight. And the other big change as well is just the fact that we've got a slightly different setup than they've run previously. As I talked to the drivers, and they're mentioning it definitely behaves a little bit different now. So it's going to be very interesting to see who's able to adjust quickly to this change of a setup here tonight.
Yeah, and the obvious advantage is going to go to the drivers who took that hour-long practice and tested different things out to see how the cars will perform in different environments.
Yeah, exactly right. So, again, Final Four drivers tonight are going to be Kevin Freis, Kevin Hash, Gabe Butler, Jim Brooks. Gabe and Jim are going to start towards the back tonight. However, Kevin Hash, Kevin Freis, they're on the top side on row number 1 and 2. So you see the pace car is just about to duck off. That's going to hand things over to our front row. And then once that green flag flies, we'll be underway here again. Scheduled distance 75 laps tonight. Likely to see 3 pit stops here this evening as well. And so actually, one thing to mention too, Dale, is there's only 2 sets of tires in the pits for these guys, so they're going to have to plan their tire strategies pretty well here.
Yeah, that's a big change in and of itself. Great start here with the 87 and the 25 staying neck and neck.
Yes, I'd be curious to see if maybe the Kevins try to kind of hook on together here, see if they can maybe push their way to the front around Raymond Rittenauer, so maybe give themselves in front of the field here and kind of stay out of trouble. I'll say, because that's always the question, of course, is going to be where do you want to position yourselves? Do you want to be in the front? Do you want to be kind of riding in the back? There's never really a for sure safe place here tonight, but you can see right off the bat, though, Kevin Hash pushing Kevin Freis, haven't been able to clear Raymond Rittenauer as of yet. Raymond's getting a big push from that 55. You see, and now as we talk about that setup change here, see a little more wobbly there in turn 3.
Yeah, and that was something I noticed in practice as well. It seemed like the front end might be a little lighter. It wasn't as stable in a real fast draft pack, and it wasn't as stable under contact either.
Yes, and I think the contact part's the biggest part that you mentioned right there, Dale, because I mean that's part of this racing is you're going to have to push and kind of get yourself in position by kind of shoving that car in front of you to help yourself out as well. So it can be very interesting to see kind of how things go. But right now up front, they basically went from about a 65 or so lap or 50 or so mile an hour pace lap to now about 190 pace lap. These guys holding on 2 by 2 here as they started this race.
Yeah, and you talked about, the fuel mileage and all that. Guys were seeing 21, 22 laps of fuel in practice. I think if somebody was able to stretch it to 25, that would be pretty much a miracle. I don't see it happen. I think 23, maybe 24 is as far as they're going to go.
Yeah, say if there's one that we would watch for that fuel mileage savings, it would be at the very tail end of this pack right now, and that's that 89 of Matt Quick. I say Matt's kind of Mr. Fuel Save. Unfortunately, didn't make the Final Four just by a couple of points. And I say honestly, it was just that late race cautions last week was really threw him out of the championship hunt. He was right in that mix up until that caution got him involved, and then put him a little bit further back. And then we saw Jim able to capitalize on it from help from the 53 of Quabi Brooks. And so those two are able to propel themselves to the front to be able to lock Jim in this Final Four tonight.
What I'm most impressed with right now is how well formed this second line is. Usually early in these races, that second line will kind of fall apart and people will single out. You might have a few guys try it, but the top line's held very solid so far.
Yes, and I kind of feel like to me, it's not a big surprise right now just because of who we've got running that top line. So we'll hop on board here with Kevin Hash, and we talk about drivers that we know are the ones to kind of watch and you want to have in your mirrors or in front of you, and that would be a Kevin Hash, a Kevin Freis, a Raymond Rittenauer. So with those two locked on together here, and actually as you see, I think you see some change for position there. I think Kevin Hash probably getting hot in that 0-3 car. Kevin Freis opting not to push too hard here, and you see Kevin Hash trying to pick him up there. So I think these two might be opting for that strategy call now right off the bat here, Dale, to kind of drop to that back. Try to get that top line working, just couldn't get enough push to get around Raymond Rittenauer. So they're opting to kind of roll a little bit further back here, stay out of trouble. So actually looks like our 4 playoff contenders all going to be kind of right into the back here at this early portion of the race.
Yeah, and we've seen them do that relatively often. I mean, it's not a horrible bet. They're definitely fast enough in a draft, this group of guys, to catch back up. Basically by themselves, not to say solo, but just a group of 4, 5, or 6 drivers are very skilled in how they draft together and have been in the past able to catch the field.
Yeah, it's really interesting though. So usually we always talk about those Final Four races. You always see the drivers up at the front kind of controlling the race here. This is one of the first times we're not going to see that, at least at this point in the race, like I mentioned. So you see the 03. So right now our championship battle is right there with Gabe Butler, Kevin Hash, Kevin Freis, and saying they're down in about the teens right now, with Kevin Hash being the highest of those in the 15th position. So I'll say not what we're used to seeing there, but up front though, say the 55 Dean Wilkinson, he's been able to take the point in that Tide machine. As soon as I say that, here comes Charles Johnson. He's going to work at the top on that 9 car with help from Todd Merkel. See if he can get that lap led here as they cross the line there to start lap number 6.
Charles Johnson's always super aggressive on these speedway races. And I talk about that often. If the second line's not there, he's usually the guy to form it. So not surprised to see him up there. We got a couple cars hitting the apron here on the backstretch.
Yeah, so I'm a little confused what's going on there. Yeah, you're right. I'd say this is the part you have to be very careful, because I don't know if Dean's going to be able to get back. You see Matt Wagner trying to give some space for Dean Wilkinson. We'll see if he has to be real careful to get that merge back on clean. He does. Yeah, I'm not sure what that was about. 3 cars all there kind of rolled off there. It was him, Raymond Rittenauer. I want to say it was Eric Laurie, I believe, as well in the 071. So, yeah, kind of a very, very different start to the race tonight than we've seen in typical races here on the Superspeedway series.
A big wobble out of that 6 car coming through the tri-oval. It's definitely one of the more loose parts of this racetrack, and it looked like he might have lost the front end a little bit.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Dale. It's like, you always think, okay, the corners are going to be the kind of the more treacherous parts of the track, but as we see in just the actual NASCAR series, and of course also in iRacing as well, really the parts that are a little bit more treacherous are the backstretch, just because you're not planted in the track as you're kind of getting compressed into the track, got all the extra grip there. And then, like you said, the tri-oval, it's not as banked as as these turns here. And so, like I said, I think the tri-oval is definitely the sketchiest part of track for these guys. And like I said, with this looser setup, I think that's something these drivers are going to really have to be on their toes about, making sure that they kind of keep a really pretty wheel to make sure not a lot of movement, especially through that tri-oval portion. Now we're kind of broken up in 2 packs here, Dale. See, obviously we've been talking about the front pack here. We've got about 12 cars, looks like, all the way back to Dean Wilkinson. They look back to that 3rd group now, being led by Jim Brooks in the 76 car. He's got the 45 of Todd Siebels with him. So he's going to see maybe those two, maybe they can lock on and push away from this group behind. As they say, you kind of look like, we see the kind of the guys we talk about more often than not They've all opted to drop to the back here, say kind of a very different strategy, but I think this might be one of those, they want to play it safe here early on to make sure they're not involved in anything. So let's say right now of those championship 4 now, Jim Brooks in the 76, he's going to be leading these guys around. But again, though, we're only on lap number 8 as they cross now lap 9 underway of 75. So yeah, a lot of time to go. And as I said, we know those guys kind of the in laps and out laps of pit stops. And then once it's really time to kind of bring the hammer down and get aggressive on the pushing, that's where they really come into their true form.
And Jim Brooks is up here getting pushed by the 45 of Todd Siebels, like you talked about. If I'm him, I'd probably fall back to that group of guys and just play off their strategy. That's where they really shine is in the pit strategy department, the draft strategy department. I would probably fall back there and just do whatever they're doing so they cannot gain the advantage on me.
Yeah, so it's definitely it's a tough balance to do because there's a lot of options that you can do on this pit strategy here where maybe you opt to pit early here in this first stop and then pit the last two, kind of like a normal pit stop. You see Jim Brooks, he has been able to catch the back of that pack though here, so he's going to be back in that lead pack. I'll say with that big push, probably also one of the quicker laps of the race as well. And yeah, sure enough, ran a 49.768, just a couple hundredths off the fastest lap of the race here tonight. So yeah, so right now, and you can see though that second group, they wasted no time. I don't know if that's a reaction to Jim or not, but you see they're kind of closing that gap back as well to that to the 45 and 76 cars.
Yeah, interested to see what Kevin Hash does with this run he's going to have here in about a quarter of a lap, maybe half a lap. We've seen him go to the top side and march by everybody. We've also just kind of seen him hang back there and hold what they have. So coming around, they're going to be pitting in about 11 more laps probably. It'd be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the next question is the pit stop strategy. When do you make that pit? I'm going to say right now, obviously the driver who's probably burning the most fuel is going to be our race leader, Charles Johnson, in that number 9 car. So say whenever you're leading, obviously you've got the worst fuel mileage of anybody because you're breaking the air in front of you, and then everybody else has kind of that draft off of you. Of course, the other one actually is going to be the 6 of Bud Steele. He's leading that top line. So at some point, Bud's going to probably start getting a little antsy. Not yet, of course, to say probably another 5 or 6 laps. So he's going to be wanting to get to that inside line to make sure he can make that pit stop happen here. But say right now, though, he's actually making pretty good progress with Kyle Hess behind him in the 86 car, working with him there to try to push them towards the front.
Yeah, and Kyle Hess is one of the drivers we talked about, just a great pusher. Not somebody that you're disappointed to see behind you by any means. I mean, as you see, he's catching up there, going to be next to Todd Merkel here in a second. Yeah,
you're right. So they're just about there on that group that is watching here on the speed cams, just to get kind of the feel of how quick these things go around. And these guys running about 184 to 190 through the turns there. So yeah, so you're exactly right that you can see Todd Siebels, like I said, or sorry, not Todd Siebels, the 86 of Kyle Hess. I apologize. And then look in the inside line, Dale. I said we talked about him a little bit last week. He's back here again. And say that 83 of Jack Walls. And say we were joking, kind of him shaking the rust off a little bit in the 83 car, and saying he's kind of putting no waste of time here. He's going to try to get right to the front here, right off the bat. Say right now running right around that 4th, 5th position.
Yeah, and we haven't really seen him, in a long time, except for last week and this week, obviously. But this is where he runs. Like, Jack Walls is definitely a fast driver, and he's no stranger to being up in the top 5.
Yeah, exactly right. So we'll see what he's able to do throughout the race. Again, still a lot of time to go here, only on lap number 13, so still 6:33 left in this one. And so right now, I say the top line just isn't. You can get to about that 3rd position, it seems like, but then I think it starts to kind of fizzle out a little bit. And I think we're seeing everybody else, like I mentioned, everybody kind of getting settled in, getting planned here, getting ready for that first set of pit stops. I don't think there's going to be too much aggression right off the bat. So you see a couple openings kind of from the inside line. I think people are starting to make a little bit of room for maybe some drivers they work with regularly, teammates, friends, whatever it may be. So maybe Bud will be able to sneak in there along with Kyle Hess and then the 90 of John Brill as well. And I say, actually, Dale, we got a nice little combo of sponsorship next to each other right now. You got the number 11 Twisted Tea there of Matt Wagner. And saying just to the outside there, you got the 90 of John Brill and the Country Time car. So say you can have to, maybe work on a Twisted Tea on Arnold Palmer with those 2 cars together.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost identically painted too. It's kind of hard to distinguish them, other than one's a Toyota, the other one's a Chevrolet.
Yeah, saying John Brill's another one of those guys that mentioned though. I think he's really been starting to kind of pick up a little bit. I feel like he's been a little tentative earlier in the past seasons where he just kind of rides around and doesn't really want to push too much. But I feel like, especially this season, I think John has really started to step up his aggression. He's been putting himself in a lot better positions in these races, especially coming down to the end of them. So I think as he gets more and more races under his belt, gets more and more comfortable with everything here, I think John's going to be one that we'll definitely see in contention for these top 5, top 10 finishes as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned Matt Wagner, and that Matt has told me that he's worked with John and helped him, adjust his wheel settings and try to get his setup tightened up a little bit, to improve his track performance, improve his racing and all that. So they're definitely putting some work in together outside the league as well.
Yeah, and that's what's really good about that stuff is you have these people that you work with. And that's the thing is, it doesn't matter if you're part of the same team or whatever it is. Everybody's there to help one another. Obviously, once race kicks off, there's always going to be that competitive side of everybody trying to kind of one-up you and try to get that position to get the win, the top 3, whatever it may be. But off track, if you're one of the other drivers there, and let's say you talk to some of those team members like Kevin Hash, Kevin Freis, Eric Laurie, you ask them for some help, for some advice, like you said, maybe some wheel settings that might help you out a little bit. I mean, they'll work with you, and that's what's really great about this league. Is let's say it's a good little group of people here. I'll say, obviously, like I said, everybody wants to win and do the best they can, but I'll say nobody's kind of, the egos aren't too big, or they're not willing to help one another as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I've experienced that as well. Coming in and starting running the Cup Series next season, and everybody's been very accommodating. So I definitely appreciate that. It really is a good place for a younger or more inexperienced driver to learn.
Yeah, you can see here comes everybody. Everybody's starting to squeeze that inside line, Dale. I think pit stops are looming, and everybody's getting reacted to it. This is where you have to be a little careful, though, too, because I say there's going to be drivers that are rolling out of the throttle, letting people in, so the car behind him has to be ready to see that's happening. And so you can see right now, now you got that, we talked about like Talladega and the Cup Series, you kind of have, usually it'd be like Dale Jr. leading the train on the top side. Here tonight, though, you've got right now, before the pit stops happen, you got Charles Johnson. He's leading the train on that inside line in that 9 car. And look out the back of that machine, and so you can see everybody's all tucked in behind him, first of which is that number 81 of Todd Merkel.
And just listening to the driver chatter, it looks like the 11 is possibly going to be coming down this time, as well as maybe the 87 car.
Yeah, I feel like we'll have to see this. We'll take a look here as they come out of 4. It looks like nobody's going yet. However, I do see some movement in the back, though. Dale, you see the 03 Kevin Freis and Kevin Hash. Those two are locking on here. I think they're ready to make their push towards the front here before the pit stops happen. And this is a strategy you can make. You can try to save a little fuel. As I said, you see him duck right in behind the 45 Todd Siebels. It's a strategy that you will see drivers do is once the pit stop window starts to open, if you've been able to save a lap or so of fuel, you kind of make that big push before the pit stops happen. That way you can kind of almost pit within the same time frame where the leader was, because obviously they're all in the same pack here. But I mean, if you look right now where Kevin Hash is, on the ticker to your left, I mean, he's about 2 seconds off the lead. So I mean, if you take account for that, basically he's coming in with a 2-second deficit to Charles Johnson in that 9 car. And that's why sometimes you'll see that big push on the pit entries and exits. And actually here, as I said, here they come. They're going to actually split this one up, it looks like. So you're going to have Kevin Hash, Raymond Rittenauer, Eric Laurie, and Bobby Hash are going to be the first 4 to hit pit road here on coming to lap number 19.
Yeah, it leaves out Kevin Freis, Gabe Butler, and Matt Quick out of that rear group. They're going to easily draft up behind the 45 car here, so no risk involved.
Yeah, so now the big step for these guys is they make sure to hit the pit stalls, don't overshoot. You see, Eric Laurie a little too hot on the brakes, has to back the car up there. And it looks like, to me, fuel only stops for these guys on that one. You see the 0-3, he is down and away. And now the next biggest thing here is for them to try to hook up together. Unfortunately, I don't think Eric's going to be able to tack onto them, but these three definitely did a great job of locking onto one another here. So now we'll go back and see if anybody else is going to react here. And I suspect we might see our second group. Yeah, here comes a few more. You see Dale Willoughby coming in. Kevin Freis, our other championship contenders in there. Oh, big lockup for Kevin. I'm a little nervous about that, Dale. That looked too quick for me on entry. I'm a little concerned that might be a stop and hold for that 25 car.
And that could prove to be very costly. I mean, losing a draft here is bad enough. A 40-second penalty and losing a draft, I mean, that could end his championship hopes.
Yeah, so this might be an opportunity where he's, oh, I'll say just to make matters worse, overshoots the pit stall just that little bit as well. Now is serviced away. So we'll keep an eye and see if these guys are able to go, if he's able to jump with him. Oh, he gets away with it, Dale. Somehow he got that car back down to speed, and he's going to tag on right to the back of the 89 of Matt Quick just in time here. So that's a big break for him. I was nervous about that one. So we'll jump back to our race leaders as here comes our next set, big set of pit stops here. A lot of drivers coming. Only 2 drivers stay out here, so you got about, I'd say, at least 12 cars coming in here, including the 76 of Jim Brooks, who's going to be the last of our playoff contenders to make their pit stop.
4 wide entrants there in the back. Looks like Jim, Kawabe Brooks. Looks like maybe the 29 and the 45 all came in 4 wide, so that's about as sketchy as it gets, folks.
Yeah, so focus on the 76 right now. Do need to mention, though, there's still 2 cars that are staying out here that are able to stretch your field a little bit more. Again, not going to be to the window you need. There goes Jim. He's going to get out and away. And it looks like he's going to hold pretty steady with this group, so they've done a good job of locking on together. Now it's all about the pit exit, getting up to speed through the apron. And that's treacherous, Dale, on these old tires as well. Got to make sure you get through the gears cleanly. However, we're going to jump back now to our last 2 drivers. You've got Todd Merkel and the 83 of Jack Walls. They're going to make their stops. That'll complete the cycle here. As you see, big lockup for Todd Merkel, trying to get it down to speed. I think just gets there before the cone. And so now we'll jump to Charles Johnson because he's leading this pack, but he's going to have a big group of cars with a head of steam behind him, led by, I believe, Dale Willoughby.
Yeah, and they're just going to march right by him on the high side, it looks like. I mean, there's so much more speed.
Yeah, there they go. They're going to... So it looks like Dale Willoughby, he's going to take over the point in that 7 car. You see big push from the one of Gabe Butler. So right now this puts Gabe Butler into the lead of the championship as they run. Again, doesn't matter bonus points, all that doesn't matter here. It's all about the final positions where they finish in relation to... Oh, as I said, Gabe pushes the 7. A little bit too much contact. Oh, big hit for the 7. We'll see if he can keep it off the track. Oh, just a bump gone wrong there, and I think it's going to stay green here, but just a huge hit for that 7 car, and that's going to be that's going to be tough to recover from.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about. The driver's reporting, it felt a little light in the front end. It was very unstable, drafting through the corners as well as bump drafting, and we just saw the result of that.
Yeah, we'll go back and take another look here. I actually went a little too soon there. Apologies. So we'll take a look here as they come through the travel. And you talk about the travel being the toughest part of it. And you can see right there, Gabe was just off center there, a little bit to the left there. Oh, actually, it helps if I turn the replay back on. All right, so you see him coming through the travel here. You see the 1 car, you can see right there as he comes through just a little bit off center to the 7 car. And that's what spins the 7 to the inside there. As I said, I don't know if that's going to be more of a setup side or just they weren't lined up as well as they needed to be there. But then unfortunately, for the 7, though, of Dale Willoughby, just wrong place, wrong time. Takes a big hit to the inside safer barrier. So you saw the motor damage as well, had to take a tow. So we'll jump back to current session, though. So right now, unfortunately, though, for Gabe and me, he's going to have to put that aside and not even think about it, Dale, because he's got to get back to kind of the task on hand, which is to win that championship, because right now he's leading the race and the championship, but in 3rd and 4th are the Kevins, Kevin Hash and Kevin Freis in those cars, and then of course Jim Burke's still in this main draft as well in that 76 car. So it's really unfortunate. Gabe feels terrible about it, but it's one of those things you kind of have to have a short memory on those types of situations.
Yeah, and honestly, just what I saw, I think it might have been a miscommunication between drivers, because I believe they wanted that line to stay high until Bobby Hash got clear of Charles Johnson, and everybody started to move down. So I think it might have been a little miscommunication, some indecisiveness as well.
Yes, and that's all it takes at tracks like this. Like I said, these things are pretty much right on the ragged edge, like you mentioned, especially through that tri-oval. Just the one wrong bump, and it's going to unfortunately make someone have a bad day. Oh, as I say that, you see Kawabe Brooks. He's starting to lead the top line with Matt Wagner pushing him. It looked like they had a little bit of a moment there entering 3. They're both able to gather it back up, but you can see they're starting to push that top line as well. Unfortunately, 2 drivers that did fall off the back of that group under the pit stop cycle was the 86 of Kyle Hess, who had been doing a great job pushing that top line early on, and we saw the 071 Eric Laurie unfortunately overshot his pit stall, had to roll it back. And just to say that little mistake was wound up being costly for him and pushes him out of the lead draft as well.
Now, Matt Wagner and Kawabe Brooks is making some serious time up here on the top line. You got the Dwight back there behind him. It looks like Jack Wall's in the mix too.
Yeah, you see 53 and 11 were able to clear, so they're going to drop now to the bottom and take over the point. And I think you see once they did that, I think I see a reaction from some of these drivers. You see Kevin Freis immediately goes to that third line and say, I think he wants no part of this as of yet. I think maybe it was looking a little too dicey for him. So again, you see just, I think, a quick reaction by Kevin Freis. He says, you know what, I'm not ready for this as quite yet. I think these guys are going to be waiting for that final pit stop to make it happen. But as we're talking about that, though, Dean Wilkinson, he's getting that push from Jack Walls. That's going to push Dean to the point. Let's say couldn't quite clear all of them there, so he's going to stay on the top side. And that's something that we've seen before, Dale. You kind of have to balance. Do you want to kind of bail on your pusher and drop to the inside, or do you try to stick with them and maybe get that second push and be able to make something happen there as well?
I'll be honest, it depends on who's pushing.
That's a very good point. You say, because there's sometimes where you kind of work with just somebody just by chance, where you kind of get locked on with somebody, maybe not by chance, but not by plan, and just say, okay, well, I'm with this guy and he's wanting to go too, so let's do it. But yeah, you're right. So let's say, especially coming to the end of the race, let's say then at that point it's pretty much everybody for themselves. So, but right now though, you can see Matt and Quabi, they've been able to hang on to that top spot on that inside line. I say Dean Wilkinson though and Jack Wall still holding really tight on the outside line.
Yeah, I'm super impressed with Matt Wagner and Quabi right now. Just how they kind of charged around the top side, was able to clear and really shuffled things up behind him in a big way. I know Matt hasn't won this season, would love to win this race.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I say, and that's the thing. We talk about the playoff contenders, and that's kind of obviously where a lot of drivers have their focus on. But I mean, everybody's going to be in this for themselves as well. I mean, everybody's going to want to win a race, and we know how competitive it is over here to get these wins. So you have these drivers that have been close. We know Matt Wagner, he's had a couple podiums, but he hasn't got that win yet. So he's had the wins on the Indy Series on Tuesdays, but we've been talking with him sometimes, Dale, and he's talked about how much he wants to win that super speedway race as well. So I say again, still a long ways to go. 48 left, and you see Jack Walls clears that outside line. He jumps to the inside line. Dean Wilkinson stays outside, so Jack Walls actually going to wind up now taking the point in that 83 car.
Really good move, especially get a couple laps led here. I mean, he saw an opportunity and obviously capitalized on it. But now Todd Merkel's up there behind the 55, and it looks like Jim Brooks and the 45's also looking high. Yeah,
I say Jim Brooks now. Say once that whole cycle, and like you said, Dale, that one move though by the 11 and the 53, that really changed the complexion of the second run. I said as soon as that happened, you saw all those guys that were up front, like Gabe Butler, and then Kevin Freis, Kevin Hash, they all kind of rolled off the back. They said, all right, you know what, we're going to roll back here and we're not going to push yet. So kind of just a change of strategies, it seemed, based on when that happened. So, but you're right though, Jim Brooks, he's jumped to the top side now. He's coming around the outside of Charles Johnson in the 9 car. He's catching up to the back of John Brill in the 90. So that's right now going to cycle him right around about the top 10 or so in that 76 car. Right now looking around right about the 6th, 7th position.
Yeah, Kevin Freis is the last car in the second pack, and I think that's a great place for him to be. We're not past the halfway point yet, and he just watched Dale Willoughby get spun to the inside and no caution come out. Dale's now 3 laps down. If that happens to a playoff contender, no caution comes out, I mean, it's over.
Yeah, exactly right. So there's a lot at risk. And I think the other thing you see here is you see the one of Gabe Butler. He's given himself a little bit of breathing room. So you see, unfortunately, in the back of that group, the 29 car, Nick Manfredi, he's having a lot of connection issues. You see him just kind of keep on blinking in and blinking out. And so you don't want to get too close to that because you never know if that car is going to wind up blinking pretty much on top of your car. So I think that's also going into their strategy here of just, as I said, you saw him there for just a split moment, kind of blink into the 89 car, Matt Quick. So I say that's one thing these guys are going to definitely be keeping an eye on as well. Yeah,
especially super speedway races. Those cars coming in and out like that, they tend to throw a lot of smoke. And when you're lined up, if you're Kevin Freis, for instance, cleaning the back, you don't know if those are cars going around or what's going on in front of you.
Yeah, so you get kind of nervous there and saying at some point there's going to be somebody mentioning like, hey, something's got to happen with that guy because it's affecting our race, affecting our strategy as well. So we'll have to keep an eye and see if that comes into play or not. But right now up front though, Dean Wilkinson, he's been able to kind of keep control on the high side with the 81 Todd Merkel inside line still holding pretty solid with Jack Walls, Bobby Brooks. Well, we mentioned Jim Brooks. He's joined in that mix as well in the 76 car. He is now in that inside line behind the 11 of Matt Wagner. So we talked about teammates as well, Dale. So in that inside line, you see the 53, the 11, 76. We saw those guys all work together last week, and it looks like they're trying to do so again here now.
Yeah, and these, as far as the team standing goes, I mean, Team Roswell, the guy just mentioned, they pretty much run away with it on the team standing side of things. They have a 73-point lead coming into this race.
Yeah, exactly right. Saying unfortunately, wasn't able to pull up all the numbers on that one, and say we were having to do some manual calculations on that. Just the way with the playouts for the drivers, it started trying to do a playoff for the team side of things as well, and it kind of just threw a wrench into everything. So they're having to do some manual math on that one. But you see though that the outside line starting to kind of fizzle out a little bit, Dale. So I think that's going to keep propelling this inside line that little bit forward. You see Jim now in the 6th position, working on the top 5, and even 4th if he can get around the 81 of Todd Merkel here.
Yeah, keep watching. I keep watching that 90, that Country Time car John Brill we talked about. He keeps poking around to the high side. If Todd Siebels will look with him, I think they're going to try to make a run for the front.
Yeah, so that's a kind of a double-edged sword there, because if they're not in communication with each other, if you're Todd Merkel, you're wondering, okay, is he maybe trying to make a move on me? But we've seen before too, where just you want to try to keep those temperatures as cool as you can. So there's times where maybe you lock onto that driver in front of you, then you jump to the top and then kind of get that clean air on your nose to try to cool yourself off so you can kind of stay with that guy. So I say, at this point, if you're the 81 Todd Merkel, you don't know, is that 90 trying to pass you on the top side? Is he trying to keep the nose clean or not? So that's kind of one of those things, again, if you're not working with that guy exclusively, you just don't know.
Yeah, and that top line is starting to form a little better. Won't be surprised to see Charles Johnson jump up here as soon as the 55 gets clear of him.
Yeah, like I said, Charles isn't usually one to ride here. However, with this being the season finale, you look at the car he's behind. So I know Charles and Jim, they've worked a lot together on the admin side of things and raced together a lot as well. So I kind of wonder if Charles is going to try to play wingman a little bit here as well for Jim Brooks and see if maybe he can help him get an opportunity to try to get this season 7 championship.
Yeah, the 55 dropped back in behind Charles too. He didn't want no part of that second groove. I kind of think they're just, Todd Merkel's up here. Like, I understand he wants to get up here and lead lap, but I kind of think they're just up there wasting more fuel than they need.
And that's actually a really good point. Unfortunately, just the 3 of them, they haven't been able to get that big push that Todd needs to get to the point there. And in doing so, he said he's probably burning the most fuel of anybody in that 81 car. Just due to the fact that he's having to run the longer distance around the top. He's that lead car, so he's pretty much foot to the floor this whole way around. So you're right. So fuel mileage wise, he's definitely not where he wants to be ideally. However, do need to mention on that side though, he and Jack Wells, those were the 2 drivers that actually went the longest on fuel. They went about a lap or 2 longer than the rest of the field. So it might actually wind up evening out. They might burn that little bit of extra fuel now, which would put him in that same cycle as Jim and Bobby and the rest of these guys in this lead pack.
Yeah, and that might be what they're thinking. You're exactly right. It's just so difficult to tell. My worry is, man, I'd want that 1 lap advantage on the back end if it was me.
Yeah, I'm the same boat. I'm one of those drivers that especially in the play race, I always try to have some sort of a different fuel strategy, usually on the side of having more fuel than the rest of the guys around me, try to get that extra lap. Of course, you have to make sure someone's on the same page with you because, of course, if you can't, and actually, as I say that on the fuel side of things, we've got some pit stops coming. You've got, it looks like 5 cars coming in here. You got the one just avoids that cone there. That was going to be crucial if he had touched that cone. I believe that would have been a stop and hold as well. So these guys are really tempting fate in these pit stops here. So you got Gabe Butler, Matt Quick, Kevin Hash, Bobby Hash, and Kevin Freis. All these drivers are going to hit their pit stop. This will be their second of the 3 pit stops tonight.
Kind of an odd pit strategy from what we saw the first time with Kevin Freis, coming a little bit earlier than he did last time.
Yeah, so this was only about 15, 16 laps. I think it was a couple more for these guys actually. But we did see them do last time though, is once they got locked on together and got hooked up and went, they were making time on that top side. So The question is going to be now, once they all get hooked together, which I'd say the one driver that's going to have to try to hustle to get back to them is that 3 of Bobby Hash. Didn't quite get the pit entry and pit stop he needed, so he's going to have a tough time trying to tag onto the back of these guys. And actually, as I say that, I'll say we got to jump up front because everybody's in on that lead pack, or not everybody, but a big chunk of the lead pack is in as well. I think they're reacting to those guys not wanting to let them get the jump on them.
I think that 53 of Quabi Brooks is going to have a little penalty on this one. I clocked him at about 70 mile an hour past the cone. Yeah, he's staying put.
Yeah, unfortunate 53. He's had a good run here, but you're right. It looks like he's going to have a stop and hold. So now, but a great pit stop, though, for Jim Brooks in a 76 car. He's actually going to come out in front of these guys from his pit stop cycle. So we're showing them because we're getting everybody kind of merged again. However, 2 drivers, again, they're going longer than everybody. It's still going to be that 83 and the 81 Jack Walls, Todd Merkel. So those guys are going to run this as far as they can. You can see here in the background, here come that group behind Gabe Butler and company. But I mean, look at Charles Johnson. He immediately locked onto the back of that 76 of Jim Brooks, and he's just getting him up to speed as quick as they possibly can.
Yeah, that's a really, really great pit stop for those guys, and just an amazing push off that 9 car as you see the guys who pit on the first lap being led by Gabe Butler not able to get up there to him.
No, you're exactly right. So you do see one driver that's back in the group here. You see Raymond Rittenauer. Unfortunately, Raymond is 3 down. So I think something happened to him. I think he may have fallen out or had a disconnection. As you can see, the top line starting to form there. You see Matt Wagner try to see if he could jump in with those guys, but say Gabe and company, they had other plans. They're going to work that top side right now. So we talked about the momentum that they would have, Dale, and it's starting to show here as Gabe Butler going to try to take the point away from that 76 that Jim Brooks off of 2. It looked like that one got real loose there off of turn 2 there.
Yeah, and you watch Raymond Rittenauer jumped up in line with those guys. That bottom line just kind of fell apart there. It's going to give the advantage to Gabe and company on the top side.
Yeah, exactly right. So, but say now the thing though for Gabe is, I don't suspect you'll see Gabe drop to the bottom here because he's going to want to try to keep his teammates behind him. So I'll say if you if you jump too early, it's going to leave the rest of your guys out there. So, and again, for Gabe, I mean, he has to watch his teammates because those are the other guys that he's fighting with that title with. You've got the 1, you've got the 25, you've got the 03. They're all lined up behind him. Of course, 76 to Jim Brooks right on the inside line. So still a lot to play for. However, I say we've been focusing on these guys the whole way. And actually, as I say that, I was about to talk about them. They just hit pit road now. That's going to be, again, Jack Walls, Todd Merkel. I'm going to be very interested to see, Dale, where they cycle out of this pit stop, if they're able to cycle with this lead pack or not. Because if they can, they've gone about 4 laps more than the rest of the field here, which would make that last pit stop of theirs just that little bit shorter than the rest of the guys, which could come into play here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about shaving a gallon or 2 off of a pit stop. I mean, that could lead to a second or better. Could really change the course of everything.
Yeah, see, unfortunately, I say Todd Merkel, they do get separated. It's going to be tight here, Dale. I say Todd's going to have pretty much the pit eggs of his life here because here they come with a huge head of steam right now. And actually, look again and say, as they come by here, it looks like that second group it's changed again because look, there goes Jim Brooks on the inside line. He has led the charge here because you can see the one, they've all backed off again. So if Todd can get through and get right back to the 87 to Raymond Rittenauer, he can stay in this lead pack, which would be crucial for his chances in this race tonight.
Yeah, watching Jim Brooks, we talked about Quabi Brooks having that penalty. He's a couple seconds ahead of Jim right now, and that distance is going to close pretty quick. So I'm wondering if they try to pick him up.
Yeah, I think they definitely do. And look at that right there. Todd Merkel, he does catch the back of this field. So great job by Todd. And this gives Todd, again, this gives him about a 3-4 lap advantage on the rest of these guys here. So that final pit stop for the 81 car, he can take a little bit less fuel. And I mean, I think that's going to be crucial for him. But yeah, you're making a great point here, Dale, as well. You see the 76, they're coming up on that 53 of Quabi Brooks. Again, he had that pit road penalty right now at the tail end of the lead lap. So the question for you now is, or for you actually, Dale, is what do you do here? I mean, if you're Jim, do you just kind of ride behind the 53 car, save fuel, and then keep him on the tail end of the lead lap? Because of course, if that brings out a caution, then he's going to get all the way back on the lead lap and maybe be able to help you out the remainder of this race. And of course, also if you stay behind him, let the 53 burn that fuel off. You save a little bit of extra fuel to maybe get you that little bit less on a pit stop here.
I think the way they're lined up, you try to pick him up if you can. I mean, it'd be Quabi, Jim, Charles Johnson, then Matt Wagner. all good friends and teammates, and it looks like they're going to pick him up.
Yeah, it looks like they're staying exactly in line, just like we thought they might.
And it's the reason you say, like, Jim's best chance of winning a championship is in the position he's in right now.
Yeah, however you see Todd Merkel, he's trying to use that momentum. You see, he's been able to jump around a couple of those guys that we mentioned earlier, Gabe Butler, Kevin Freis and company. So at some point, again, it looks like these guys they're not ready to show their full hand yet. They haven't been able to get that pit stop that they want to be able to kind of jump all the way to the front. But actually, you see, I think Kevin Freis, I think he maybe had enough here, Dale. I think he said, you know what, I've been riding with these guys. I want to get that track position. I want to do something with this here and kind of give it a more of a fight right now at this point in the race instead of waiting to the last pit stop. And you see he's going to have Todd Merkel join the party with him in that 81 car.
Yeah, and they got a big head of steam cut up there. Gabe Butler's up on the top side now. Still got to catch up to him. I wouldn't be surprised to see Matt Quick get up there as he does now. Looks like, yeah, these guys are going to make a move to get up there.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin, pretty much without any effort there, Dale, he's already gone up to that second group and now side by side for the lead. And actually, as I say that actually is the race leader, because again, with Jim following the 53 car, say that nose in front for the 25, that's going to put him as the race leader. So right now, really for Quabi in the 53 car, he's kind of right now bouncing between being the first car one down or being on the tail end of the lead lap, which I mean it does make a big difference on the if a caution comes out. So you can either pit with the leaders and not have to fall to the end of the line, or of course if you're that first car one down, then you're stuck having to do that, be at the tail end of that longest line. So. And again, that's all based on a caution here, Dale. And so we still got a lot of time to go here. 32 to go. Still got a pit stop left in this one. And that's going to be the next question is when do they make that final pit stop? Do they kind of do it like a road course? You pit as soon as the window's open, or what do we think is going to be the right call for that one?
Man, it's tough. If everybody around me, if I'm Jim and all my teammates in front and behind me are on the same strategy, I think we stretch it out and then short pit that last one. Jim had a great pit stop the last time. Charles Johnson, pushed him down the backstretch off pit road. I think we bank on doing that a second time, honestly.
Yeah, I think you're right too. I think what you got to do, but I'll say of course the thing we haven't talked about much yet is there is that potential of that green-white checkered finish. And again, I mean, there's 3 attempts of it, so it could go a long, long ways further than that 75 laps. I mean, we could even see them get towards lap 85 or so, depending on when those cautions fall. So you always want to kind of give yourself that little bit of a wiggle room. You don't want to be pitting as soon as you're in your window. You probably want to give yourself an extra couple laps just in case you get that green-white checker territory, which again, I mean, that's going to throw a whole nother wrench into things as well, like we mentioned. Because, I mean, again, if a caution comes out, maybe once one group is in, the second group isn't, it could just completely change the complexion of this one.
Yeah, speaking of complexion change, Gabe Butler looking to the outside of Todd Merkel, but they're coming up on Dale Willoughby here shortly.
Yeah, saying Dale, unfortunately, we saw the contact earlier to him, so he is also 3 laps down, like we mentioned with Raymond Rittenauer. Say nothing of his doing, just got pushed in the bad spot, and unfortunately, he got the worst of it there. So you're right, though, and saying, as I say that, this is going to be a really tricky position. Oh, actually, as I said, you see Dale, he's going to get to the apron, wants no part of that. And that's, I mean, that again, just the respect that's showing from that son of Dale Willoughby. I mean, that's, if you're a racer, I mean, that's what you love to see that. And of course, if you hope that for Dale, when he's in that situation where he's leading that pack, you obviously hope that person next to you reciprocates that.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to be the cause of a change of outcome of this race. He's got friends up here running for championship. Obviously wants to see them do as well as they possibly can. And you don't want to be the cause of a caution that changes the strategy.
Yeah, exactly right. And so you saw for a moment there, the one of Gabe Butler, he had gotten to the point there in that one machine. But then the momentum kind of fizzled out just that little bit on that top group. But you can see Matt Quick, though, he is committed to that one car here. They're working the top side. Kevin Hash as well. So right now you see the one, he's able to clear the 25 car. I think actually, clears both lines. And as soon as he cleared, he jumped straight to the bottom of that one machine. He's going to take point.
Yeah, and that causes that bottom line to check up a little bit. So, I mean, that's not bad. He wants to get Kevin Freis, he wants to get Matt Quick, and he wants to get Kevin Hash up there with him. So checking up that bottom line like he did isn't a bad call.
Yeah, so say what this does now, of course, is this kind of pins that inside group now behind that 53, behind the one car. So, like, if you're the 53 to 76, and even if you want to try to pass the one car, say he's got to try to find a way to clear the 25 of Kevin Freis, which obviously is not going to be an easy task as well, because we've seen how well Todd Merkel's been pushing that outside line.
Yeah, I think another thing too is Gabe's thinking about if he puts Kawabe Brooks a lap down, if there is a caution, that puts that team up. So that's another point of it, and it's a good call. To get them broke up, it lessens their chances. Kawabe Brooks jumps completely out of line.
Yes, I think he's thinking the same thing. It's like, yeah, I don't feel comfortable in this position now. When you're leading that inside group on your own, you're feeling pretty good. But yeah, so now for Kawabe, he's got to make sure he can merge. Just say now he's able to get back on track. The goal for him now is to stay in that lead pack draft, because he is right now the only car one down. Actually, Dale, the other cars are 3 and 4 down. And actually, as I say that, he's still running the apron here, so maybe having a little bit of a technical difficulties there. So now he's going to be in a bit of a tight spot to keep up with this draft here.
Yeah, he needs to get up there and tag on to Dale Willoughby and Raymond Rittenauer, and they'll be, as he does, they'll be able to catch the pack no problem. But it was, if those two drivers weren't there, he'd be in real bad shape.
Yeah, and you see everything's shaking up in front. You saw for a second, Kevin Freis was the race leader. Now Kevin Hash got around, but then also the 81 again, Todd Merkel. He's now at the point. Again, I mean, we talk about Todd Merkel. He went further on fuel than the rest of those guys, and he is in this lead pack. So, again, he can take a little bit less fuel than the rest of those guys, which is going to help shorten that last pit stop. Oh, you see a little bit of a bobble there from Six and Bud Steele, I believe it was. So that's going to shorten his pit stop, which could put him in a good position here to kind of be that first car out of the pit stops on this final stop in probably about, I'm going to say probably about 7 laps. I think we'll see some of these guys start hitting pit road.
Yeah, and he's lost his pit partner of Jack Walls. Jack Walls about 6.5 seconds back from the lead right now. So whatever the guys around him are going to do is going to be best for Todd to do as well.
Yeah, exactly right. So he's going to have to kind of change his game strategy. So he's going to start working with somebody that he hasn't worked with before. Say whether that's going to be, you see on the outside, could it be Dean Wilkinson or Bud Steele? Could it be the Kevins with Kevin Hash, Kevin Freis, or Matt Quick, Gabe Butler? I'll say he's got a lot of people around him that he can definitely have potential to work with here. Like I said, I think that biggest thing for him is just the fact that he's going to be able to take that little bit less fuel. So it should hopefully shorten that pit stop so he can then make a good run for the win here after this final pit stop's all said and done.
Yeah, and the window opens here in about 4 or 5 laps. So we'll probably see some guys come as soon as the window opens, and then some late followers as well.
Yeah, exactly right. So we got Larry Yingling chatting here on YouTube as well. So I say he's throwing out some Michael Waltrip game plans. I think maybe seeing if anybody has the itchy arm syndrome and has a self spin. So I don't think that kind of stuff's gonna fly over here, Larry. Say it might work in NASCAR if they don't get caught, but I say these guys are pretty quick on the draw here at Area 51.
It's I think it's a little rivalry going on, a friendly rivalry between Larry and Kevin Hash, as they like to shoot blows at each other during the race.
Yeah, it's always fun that you can kind of, let's say you have friends, friends that you kind of support you and watch your races. And I say it wouldn't be a friendship if you weren't kind of ribbing each other too. And I say I do need to mention right now, Kevin is right now in that position of that first car of the 4 playoff contenders. You see right behind him, he's got the other 2. Actually, I should say right behind him, he's got all 3 behind him. You got Kevin Freis right there, then Gabe Butler, then Jim Brooks. So you got the 4 playoff contenders in that 2nd through 5th on the inside line here. So I say right now, race lead is with the 81 Todd Merkel. Again, some of the drivers, they do have the P next to their name. That's just a mistake on my part. Again, apologies for that one. Our 4 drivers are Kevin Hash, Kevin Freis, Gabe Butler, and Jim Brooks are battling it out for that title. Points don't matter. It's all about which driver finishes in front of the other one come the checker flag.
Look at the 55 and the 6 up here on the top side. I mean, they're doing very, very well tonight.
Yeah, Dean Wilkinson, we saw him earlier working the top side. Bud Steele's always one. He's kind of like Charles Johnson. He's not going to just sit and ride. He's going to want to make moves. He's going to want to be in contention for these races as well. And that's what makes these playoffs and these types of races just that kind of adds that little bit of craziness to it. It's not just those 4 playoff drivers racing one another for the championship and for the win of the race. You've got tonight. We've got 21 drivers all trying to get a win tonight. Now, unfortunately, like I said, it's dwindled down a little bit with just the 18 cars left on the lead lap. And in this lead pack, you've got now 11 cars that have kind of separated themselves throughout the pit stop cycles. We'll have to see once the last cycle happens here, kind of how many are left, and see if that's going to be the way it runs to the finish.
Yeah, and they're coming up on that real soon. As you look at Kevin Hash, Kevin Freis, Matt Quick, and Gabe Butler, this will be lap 19 on this fuel run, and then pretty much everybody else will be going to lap 18 of their fuel run.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. I kind of really thought somebody would go long on the first 2 stops and then try to have a really short final stop. But we just haven't seen that tonight, unfortunately. I'd say so. I think it seems like everybody's strategies this time has been kind of to split it a little bit more evenly, like we're talking about there, Dale. Kind of right around those in the high teen marks, basically, to low 20s. So it's gonna be intriguing to say we're 22 to go right now. We're gonna come around for 21 to go. But I think we're going to see drivers probably wait that extra lap or so just in case of that potential of a green light checker finish, I should say. I think that's why we see nobody really willing to duck off yet, but I think that's going to be the crucial thing, is to make sure you have enough in your tank just in case. I don't think anybody's going to want to be topping off if there's a light yellow.
Yeah, the track position is going to be just way, way too valuable. Surprised to see Matt Quick not making his way to the bottom. You know, just watching him, he's obviously confident in what he's got left in the fuel tank, and I'm not super shocked that he would have more than the people around him. But 20 laps on this run, I'd be looking to get down.
Yeah, so you wonder at what point can Matt Quick find the hole. Looks like he had a spot for just a split second there in front of the 1 car. I think you see that opening might be just starting to form there between the 25 and the 1 car. But it doesn't look like Matt's going to take it there. I thought that might be the opportunity for him. And as I said, here come a couple of the drivers here. Looks like 3 of them, actually, the 3 other contenders, Kevin Hash, Kevin Freis, and Gabe Butler, they're all going to make their final scheduled pit stop. Great job by all 3 of them getting down to speed there without any troubles here. So now it's going to be the question now, if you're Jim Brooks, do you react to this? Or do you need to maybe still try to go a little bit different strategy from those 3? Because it is only 3 cars. So is that enough? Is that enough cars to kind of get that speed difference that they might need?
Those are 3 tough cars. I mean, so even though it's just 3 cars, those are 3 tough drivers that just pitted before everybody else. It would definitely affect how I drive.
Yeah, as I look at their pit stops, they all ran really similar pit stop times there. It was 7.8, 7.6, and 8-second pit stops for those guys. So it looks like probably a splash of fuel for them. And yep, here comes the reaction to that. Jim Brooks is in. You've got saw a puff of smoke from a couple. Oh, you see Dean Wilkinson. Oh, you see Charles Johnson spinning as well. This is all going not to plan. Jim's got to be careful. As they said, he gets tagged by the 45 of Todd Siebels. So Jim's got to try to catch the car and get back to his pit stall here. Say everything unfortunately kind of unfolding just the opposite of what they were looking for there.
Yeah, that's huge. There's no way about it. That's I mean, I don't think we've seen a pit lane crash like that yet this season.
No, so that's definitely one that was a lot worse than we've seen before. And also it's going to be a long stop for that 76 car. You can see he's down and away now. 14-second pit stop here. This is definitely going to put them behind. He's leaving the pit stall now. Gabe Butler and company, they're gone. So Jim's going to drop way back from that. So just pretty much everything that went wrong on that pit stop, that could go wrong on that pit stop, did. As I do need to mention, here comes a few more drivers. As I say that, Dale Willoughby has to save that car. Matt Quick, he's making his final stop. So right now, again, cycling to the point on his own. I think on his own now. Oh, this is going to be brutal, Dale. Todd Merkel, he's going to stretch it further, but he has nobody with him here. This is going to really kill the 81 speed here, and that's going to put him seconds behind.
Yeah, he had no choice but to pit this next time. Man, that's bad. Like I said, him and Jack Walls got separated. They were on the same pit strategy, and he really needed to come in with everybody else. It's a real shame for the 81 at this point.
Yeah, so it's just everything went wrong. It seemed like on that last pit stop for a lot of drivers here. There's still a few drivers that are serving penalties in the pits as well. I think I just saw Charles Johnson just come out after his, Dean Wilkinson. I think Bud Steele as well. So, like I said, pretty much everybody's here. Here comes Todd Merkel. You see he's going full send on this one, trying to gain anything he can on the entry. So he has to, of course, make sure he gets down to pit speed. So once he cycles through, it's going to cycle it over to Kyle Hess for the time being. He's got help from Eric Laurie. Those two will cycle out as our race leaders for the moment. Obviously, again, still a lot of time to go. 18 to go, 17 will be at the line. So the question is going to next be where's the battle for the win for the championship. So we'll jump back, and I believe right now leading the pack is that 0-3 of Kevin Hash. And yeah, there you go. You got Kevin Hash, Kevin Freis, Gabe Butler, and then I believe Matt Quick might be able to tag just onto the back of him. He's going to have to really hustle that car to get back tagged on here.
Yeah, if he doesn't grab them, he's going to get with Raymond Rittenauer, Dale Willoughby, and then they'll be able to catch up. I mean, those 6 cars are obviously going to be faster than pretty much everything else on the track as it stands right now.
Yeah, you saw right there, they just drove by the 81 of Todd Merkel, so that one lap that he was off on his own, that's going to cost him the draft, unfortunately. You can see he's jumping up there as soon as he could, tries to grab the toe, but I think it's just going to be too little too late for him. And just that one final pit stop deal, it just completely undid a lot of drivers here tonight. Say Matt Wagner, he's 2 laps down. Quabi Brooks is 2 laps down. You got Charles Johnson, Bud Steele, Dean Wilkinson. They're on the tail end of the lead lap. So say all these drivers were up front. And I didn't mention the 86 of Kyle Hess. He and Eric Laurie hitting pit road now for their scheduled final stop. But say once everything cycles through, we're gonna kind of try to show you where what the intervals are, because I mean it's pretty much this is the race for the win for the championship right now is these guys right here. But you see, actually, Matt Quick was not able to catch onto the back of him, Dale, so he's going to have to try to... He does have help now. He was able to tag on with Raymond Rittenauer and Dale Willoughby, so he's got good company with him. And I say maybe they can push him in, because right now, if not for that, though, we're going to have basically our 3 championship contenders are lined up 1, 2, 3, nose and tail here, with Kevin Hash leading that group. So we're going to cross the line here. 15 to go at the line. Everybody's made their scheduled final stops of the race, so everybody should be good to go to the end here. And again, I mean, this is everything's like I said, just kind of everything came undone there on that last pit stop. So right now you've got these 4 drivers are the lead pack here. Those 3 up front, and then the 89 and Matt Quick just a little bit behind them. See a couple cars in between them. There are a lap down now, including Bud Steele, Charles Johnson. And then if we jump further back, the 81 of Todd Merkel, he is in the top 5 here, Dale. All alone, though. He's got nothing in front of him for about 15 seconds. For about 8 seconds, and another 8 seconds behind him before he gets caught by the 29 of Nick Manfredi, who's leading this group. He's got Michael Spell and Jack Walls with him. So you got those 3 drivers who are running in the 6th, 7th, and 8th positions. And back in 9th after the contact and everything that went wrong for him. Jim Brooks, he's got the 90 of John Brill. Those 2 are working together, but just the 2 drivers there. And actually, as I say, that Matt Quick, he puts down the fastest lap of the race, Dale, and he is back in this pack, and he's going to try to, I think he knows they're going for a championship, but I think Matt, he's had a kind of a rough go of the season, I feel like, a little bit, so I think he's going to be going for that win tonight.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. It is a championship, the final championship race. A lot of guys still want to win. They just kind of added Bobby Hash to that draft pack, too, so they're going to increase their power a little more.
Yeah, that's gonna be the question: is who makes what move when? I think right now these guys, I think they're just going to stay in line, kind of run the fastest laps they possibly can with one another. The quicker they can kind of tick off laps here in this race, the better. Because I mean, we saw last week everything was looking great for these guys. Matt Quick felt like he was in that catbird seat as well with the pit cycles the way they fell, and that late race caution, it just threw everything out the window basically. So I'll say these guys do not want lightning to strike twice. They want to see this thing go green. They want the biggest thing for them. They want to see that white flag, and then from there, I think that's where they're really going to be planning to race it out between the 3 of them.
Yeah, and they definitely will race it out. I mean, the friendship, when they come around with that white flag, probably actually when they come off of 4 coming to the checker, the friendship's going to go out the window.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely see some big moves by these guys, and that's the thing. I mean, this is what they do best: is they work the strategies, they hit their pits, and they nail it, and that's what's made them so difficult to beat week in and week out. So again, right now our 3 of the 4 playoff contenders sit 1, 2, and 3. Kevin Hash leading Kevin Freis, Gabe Butler there in 3rd, and then that 6th car in line, the 89 of Matt Quick, is the 4th car on the lead lap in this group. So right now, these are the 4 drivers that are in contention to win the race, with those 3 in front of them being those the 3 championship contenders.
It's such a speed difference between this lead group and then Jim Brooks and John Brill back here.
Yeah, it's like 1.2 seconds. I was looking at it last time by, and that's 2 cars versus 8 cars that are, or actually not even 8 cars now. I think they're up to about 10 to 12, and that are just really well organized, really well formed. So these guys are just, again, I think these guys, like you said, I think they're just going to be trying to ride these last couple laps out. They're going to cross the line here now, 11 to go. And so, again, it's just going to kind of be who's going to be the first to make that move to try to put themselves in that winning position if we stay green.
Oh, man, it's so tough. Like, because I'm looking at Kevin Freis and I'm looking at Gabe Butler, and I'm in my mind trying to decide who I think's going to go. And I think it's going to be Gabe Butler that makes the move first at the end.
So I'm saying it's going to be Matt Quick. I think he's going to make the move. I think he's going to have Raymond Rittenauer, Dale Willoughby, Bobby Hash behind him. I think at some point we're going to see Matt say, okay, I'm ready to roll. I want to do something here. And then I think it's going to be then who reacts first to Matt Quick. That's what I see happening. Because when you're right now, you look at the one Gabe Butler, you've got the 6 of Bud Steele and 9 of Charles Johnson. They're kind of wild cards because let's say, unfortunately, both those guys are on the are one lap down here right now. Bud actually in the lucky dog position. So you kind of wonder, are they going to play a role in this? Are they going to try to do anything to get their laps back towards the end of this race? Or are they going to sit and ride, or even are they going to maybe push me if I make a move? Because you just don't know, because again, you're so used to working with the guys that you race with week in and week out that kind of throws these guys into that wild card category like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, and that is true. I mean, my thought on it is I haven't seen Charles Johnson refuse an opportunity to pass someone in a high side yet this season.
Yeah, so if there's an opportunity, Charles is going to take it. There's no question there. But like I said, he knows what's in store for tonight. He knows what's on the line. So, and that's what's kind of crazy about it is, again, you're racing these 3 guys around you, but then you're racing the whole field as well. It doesn't matter if they're in the lead lap, a lap down. I mean, we saw previous races where there'd be a teammate or a driver a lap down that would be pushing that guy in front of you to help that person that's on the lead lap get to the front. So we saw that for a little bit tonight as well. We saw Jim trying to help Quabi out, keeping him on the tail end of the lead lap as well. So there's just so many different things you can do with the strategy calls here. So it's gonna be intriguing to see. We're already in single digits here, Dale. 9 to go, 8 to go at the line. Like I said, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna come down to the white flag. Once that flag flies, then I think it's gonna be kind of every man for themselves.
But as far as these top 3 are concerned, they would rather not be racing with anybody else for a championship. I mean, they'll be ribbing each other. Whoever wins. But they're all pretty happy to be up there with their friends.
Yeah, exactly right. I almost wonder maybe there's maybe a Kevin bet going on if Kevin Hash versus Kevin Freis. Maybe there's going to be some better Kevin propositioning going on, because last I've heard, Kevin Freis has been kind of deemed better Kevin over Kevin Hash. But right now, like I said, with 8 to go, it's Kevin Hash that's leading Kevin Freis, Gabe Butler. So we'll have to see, maybe there's a little bit some insider betting going on between the 3 of them.
Might be a little title change at the end of this season.
Yeah, that's right. So we'll definitely hopefully have an opportunity to interview him and find out. As we're going to cross here, 7 to go at the line. And obviously, like I said, everybody's just right now biding their time. Kind of playing chess right now here, Dale. I think everybody's waiting to make that right time to make their move. And one thing we do have to look and we look just a little bit further ahead of these guys. There's 3 cars drafting together here that could wind up playing a role in this as well. You got Eric Laurie, Todd Siebels, and the 86 of Kyle Hess. All 3 of those drivers are on the tail end of the lead lap, but again, their lap times are about 0.8 of a second slower. So you wonder if maybe someone picks up a draft at the right time, and maybe they use that to try to make that move on these guys.
Yeah, that, and then if you consider if they could catch him and get by him, like Kyle Hess is a great pusher. I mean, he's definitely somebody you want to see on your bumper coming down to the checker flag.
Exactly. I mean, we saw how well he was working that top line earlier in the race. So, it's very possible. Do need to mention, Todd Merkel, I believe he has finally caught a group, so he is in a draft pack finally. And so you can see right there, he's got Jack Walls with Michael Spell and Nick Manfredi. He's actually been able to hold that top 5 position leading that pack. So, it's unfortunate for Todd, just that one lap by himself really hurt him. I think he would have been in a really good position as well there. But right now holding a solid top 5 spot here as we got 6 to go down the backstretch.
Yeah, Jim Brooks' hopes are pretty much over unless there's a caution. 31 seconds, almost 32 seconds back now.
Yeah, no, exactly right. At this point, it needs to be a caution for him to have a chance at it. I'll say again, I mean, that's what happened for him last week. It was about, I want to say it was about 3 or 4 to go that caution came out. That's what kind of got him back in contention. And again, he made the most of it. He won that race to advance, to get into it. So he had to fight hard to get around Gabe Butler, but say Gabe was kind of stuck on his own with Jim, and then Quabi pushing Jim, obviously. So you gotta pick your battles there. And for Gabe, it was just make sure he gets to the end, gets that good finish, because he had not locked himself into that Final Four.
Yeah, and that's kind of what makes me think Gabe's going to be the aggressor. You know, he saw it get away from him last week. You know, to be a couple hundred feet from a win and not get it is tough. So I think he wants to recoup from that.
Yeah, it is a very good point. I'll say whatever it is, I'll say, you know, these guys, again, I think they're going to be going after it. I'll say they'll race each other hard, but I'll say they race with each other frequently. They know, and that's going to be the hard part too, Dale. I feel like probably these guys, they know the other person's moves. So you have to, like, if you're Kevin Freis, if you're Gabe Butler, you kind of have to, okay, what can I do to throw Kevin Hash off his game here, as we got 4 to go here. And the other thing that could happen, again, at some point, Kevin Hash, he's going to pick up the toe of those couple cars in front of him. That's going to pick his pace up a little bit more, which is going to make him that much more difficult to pass here in these coming laps.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. We saw it with Matt Quick. Matt Quick set the fast time, you know, by grabbing onto some cars in front of him and just taking off. Kevin Hash could really do the same thing and leave Kevin Freis and Gabe Butler without enough time to react.
Yeah, as you can see, he's just starting. I think at this point, he's starting to pick up that toe. You see Gabe Butler jump a little bit to the inside. I think just trying to get a little bit of a view of what's going on in front of him. But look at that! Look what's happening here. Look at the gap that Gabe Butler's building here, Dale. I think he might be trying to do something here. As you see, it looks like Kevin Freis is pushing Kevin Hash away, but I think Gabe might be trying to pull a little bit of strategy here in that one car.
Yeah, you see those 3 cars, they all moved to the top side. That kind of breaks up that draft, and Gabe Butler's able to get back up right behind Kevin Freis.
I'm looking a little further back, too. Look at the big gap Matt Quick's got behind the 9 of Charles Johnson. I think Matt Quick, he's trying to time this momentum here and see if he can make that big push from Raymond Rittenauer. Maybe he can jump into that top 3 battle here, so we're going to keep an eye on that 89 car as well. As when we cross line here, we're going to have 2 laps to go. So again, the biggest thing that these 3 drivers for that championship are going to be looking for is that white flag. That way they know from there on they can race it out for the win and the championship for Season 7.
Yeah, they just got to make it around one more time to get the white, and then it's going to be, you know, no holds barred at that point.
Yeah, you see Matt Quick, he's able to get right to the back of Charles Johnson. I think he may have timed it just a little bit off, because now as soon as he got there, he's now kind of side by side with that 071 of Eric Laurie. So say now again, you can see, and that's where you probably get a little nervous. You can see everybody's kind of mixed up a little bit here. So you want everybody, say if you're up front, you want these guys to get back to single file, if not 2 wide, not 3 wide though. As we're saying, we've got 2 more turns here before you see that white flag.
Yeah, that start-finish line's a ways down the front stretch here at Talladega, though.
Yeah, so that's the thing, is you feel like this is probably the longest. These have probably been the longest, about 15 laps of their career, waiting to get to that white flag. You see Matt Quick, he's starting to peek to that top side, trying to see what he can do and when he can do it. So here we go. They do cross the white flag, Dale. So right now, 1 to go here at Talladega. Season 7 championship on the line. Is it going to be Kevin Hash, Kevin Freis, or Gabe Butler as we cross 1 to go?
Yeah, you were right. Matt Quick's looking top. You got Raymond Rittenauer, Dale Willoughby was back there behind him. I think that group's going to be the deciding factor here. It's going to be who jumps up with them.
Yeah, so right now you see Kevin Freis just completely locked onto the back bumper of that 03 here with the 25 car. You see Gabe Butler right there as well, and I think they're pushing so hard that the 89 Matt Quick hasn't been able to get to him. So you just have to wonder at what point, you know, you're gonna try to make that big push and then make the jump up. It hasn't happened yet. We're just waiting for that last move right now. So right now, as they come out through the tri-oval, Kevin Freis still locked onto the back, and it looks like late moves is not going to be enough, though. Kevin Hash going to be the winner, and Season 7 championship is going to go to that 03 of Kevin Hash.
Yeah, I think Gabe, you know, he jumped high. He just did a little too late. You know, kind of have to do it early. You know, being what's on the line. I think if he would have maybe tried it off 4, he could have been in better shape. At the same point, he might have fallen backwards, but the outcome would be the same.
Yeah, and I think just the pace. I mean, we saw how hard that 25 was pushing that 03. I mean, Kevin Freis was. I'd say there's. I don't, even if they had the run, I don't think they had a chance because I mean, Kevin Freis was just pushing Kevin Hash for all he was worth there. So, just great job by these guys tonight. Like I said, that last pit stop, that money stop, they capitalized on it. We saw some of the other drivers didn't have the stops they needed. But when it came down to say those Kevin Hash, Kevin Freis, Gabe Butler, they're gonna finish 1, 2, 3 here tonight.
Yeah, listening to driver chatter, I talked about how bad Matt Wagner wanted to win one this year, and he's a little upset that today wasn't that day, but he's going to move on to season 8 with the rest of these drivers and have 12 more opportunities.
Yeah, so you got the whole team here celebrating on the front row as Matt Wagner just sneaks by there. So these guys celebrating their runs tonight. I said top 3, obviously that's the way you want to do it. Say actually top 4. So I do need to mention, say while we were watching that, there was that fight towards the back there, and it looks like Michael Spell was able to just squeak the top 5 away from Todd Merkel. He's going to finish in 6th, Jack Walsh in 7th, and you got Nick Manfredi 8th, Jim Brooks 9th, and John Brill's going to round out our top 10 tonight. I think these the engine builders for the Team Bootnocker is going to be a very expensive engine build because as the 89 and the 03 meet there right at the start-finish line. So I say that the engine builder is going to be having a lot of repair bills here tonight.
Yeah, they're out here just burning them down, having a good time, and celebrating as a group. So, man, what a season! Good job on that entire team.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these guys did exactly what they needed to do. I was a little worried about them. Let's say those first 2 pit stops, you kind of were wondering if they'd be able to make that move and get around the guys and make something happen. But they tried, and they couldn't do it. And then finally, at the very end of it, they wound up that last pit stop. I mean, that was where they got it, and they were able to pull it off here tonight. All right, so we got to pull up our top. Well, I don't know, Dale. What do you think? Should we just pull all 3 of them up together, kind of get one big interview?
Yeah, I think they race as a group all season. They're friends and teammates. I think it's appropriate.
All right, let's start pulling in our top 3. So we're going to bring in our race winner, Kevin Hash. We're going to be bringing in 2nd place, Kevin Freis, and the 1 of Gabe Butler. I'll say we'll go back and we will kind of watch this as they finish this off. All right, so we're gonna grab the 3 of them. We'll bring them all in together because, like I said, Dale, say they work together. The unselfishness of these 3 guys. I mean, it's unparalleled. And say I was curious to you guys to say we figured you guys are gonna wait till the last lap before anything was gonna happen there. But then I mean we saw Matt Quick. He tried to make the top line happen, but I mean you guys are just rolling that bottom so well tonight. Was there any thoughts of like when to try to make a move? Was it going to be like out of 4, maybe try to trial, or does it seem like just the pace is too high to try to make a last ditch effort to try to jump around to try to get that championship for yourselves?
Oh, I know for me, we had this thing pretty locked up as a team, and anybody on the team wins the championship, it's championship for all of us.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good way to put it. I mean, and so I think for Dale and I, especially for me, I mean, those first 2 pit stops, we saw you guys pitted a little bit early. You would see the momentum you guys would get, and you get to the front. Obviously, not enough to clear the draft of the other groups that pitted a little bit later. And then for a little while, Gabe, you were, I think, leading that pack. And then once there was a big push from the outside, they jumped to the front. You guys all kind of immediately just dropped right back to the back, waited for the next set of pit stops, and kind of just rinse and repeat there. Was that just kind of limiting the potential risks of any incidents in that big pack at the beginning portion of those races?
Yeah, that was exactly it. Just kind of mainly stay out of trouble. If you can't finish a race, you don't have a chance to podium. But part of it was that. Part of it was fuel, and then the big thing was we were trying to gear up for the last pit stop. I think it was the 2nd pit stop. I thought I hit the cone. I thought I might have had a penalty, and we all kind of got lucky on that one. We kind of locked it down and decided they would be a lot more conservative in the last one, and worked out. I don't know what happened to Jim and those guys. I don't know if they sped or got a penalty or what, but we figured something happened. So that's kind of why we were being very conservative with that last stop.
Yeah, you guys made me nervous on a couple of your stops. I'll say for you, I think Kevin, one for you. I mean, you were deep in the pits there. We saw you lock it down for a good portion of the way through the pit stall. And then, like I said, Gabe, you were super close to touching that pit cone. So there's a couple times Dale and I are both saying like, man, if this were if it's what we think may have happened there, this could be that 40-second stop and hold. And but yeah, I mean, it's like you guys were able for you, Kevin. Obviously, you're able to get it down to pit speed before the segment line, and then like I said, Gabe, you were just off of that pit cone enough to where it didn't touch it to give you any penalties. And yeah, you're exactly right. I say they reacted to that pit stop you guys made for that final stop, and just it was pretty much one of those stops where if anything could go wrong, it went wrong on that pit stop. Drivers were too hot on entry. Some were spinning out, trying to get down to speed. Contact between a couple drivers as well, and so yeah, they were able to hold you guys those two stops of that final stop. Just it all kind of came unraveled, and so that's where we saw the three of you and then Matt Quick be able to separate yourselves from the field that last run at the end.
Yeah, that last stop was by far the most conservative we had, and ended up being the right thing. The tires were hot. I know we didn't change tires the entire race, so it's just getting sketchier and sketchier coming into the pits.
That was actually something Dale and I were talking about as well, is just how critical it was for kind of getting out of the pits cleanly and like I said, not spinning the tires. And then something we were actually wondering is like there was you only had the two sets of tires in the pits. We were wondering if that was going to be a concern where you maybe not have enough tires to go the end, but you guys able to run the full 75 on that one set. So was it something? Did you notice that once you got up to speed, did they feel fine, or were you able to actually notice the wear as the run was progressing, kind of towards those final 5-10 laps?
I know for me on that final segment, the car handled the best that it did the entire night. A lot of that was because we were single file and aligned and really organized, making good time. But it seemed as tires built up pressure, just handled better.
Yeah, so actually that's where it maybe makes sense then not to worry about changing tires, to have to worry about building that pressure all back up again. But I mean, just hats off. I mean, you guys again, you're able to execute and say. It was obviously not the easiest one tonight, but once you made that final stop, that's where you guys kind of were able to put everything together and take advantage of the mistakes by the guys behind. But I have to obviously last week say it was kind of a similar situation. You guys had that nice lead, everything was looking good, and then that late yellow. Was this one of those the longest, probably 10-15 laps of your guys' careers waiting for that white flag to fly?
Definitely, it was it was very. I want to say easy the last couple of laps, but I think we was all just sitting there waiting for the dreaded yellow flag to fly.
Yeah, so as Dale and I are saying, obviously the first flag you guys are looking for is that white one. Then you guys can race it out between the three of you. And say for you, Kevin, I mean, I'll say the pit stop. Obviously, you're able to nail your stops, able to get out in front there. So you obviously you had Larry. He was keeping an eye on you, making sure no mistakes were made. Because I mean, obviously, you got to get one of you guys to kind of hold the mantle for the team over there. I mean, what was your thoughts once you came out with the lead? Were you feeling pretty solid, or were you a little worried about maybe one of them trying to make a move on you towards the end?
I have the two best super speedway racers hands down directly behind me in the closing laps. I'd trust these guys like brothers, but I knew if any of them made a move, it wasn't going to be a question of how I could defend it. It was just going to be the situation of who gets to the line first. And just, I just have these guys are best sim racing friends you could have in the world. I trust these guys with everything, and really all three of us, I think, deserve the championship the most there. We, like how you said, selfishness, and, I'm just grateful to have the opportunity to work with these two guys. I consider them pretty much legends of this stuff. I've seen them both do some incredible stuff, and I'm very, very glad to be a part of the team with them.
All right, so Dale and I were discussing. So, were there any discussions of and kind of insider bets of between the three of you, if you guys were going to be the ones to win it tonight? Were there any kind of better Kevin bets or namings that were going to change if Hash was going to be Freis, or is that are the nicknames sticking throughout this season still?
I just want to say that Hash got a championship and Larry didn't.
Ooh,
I knew
shots
that was
fired.
coming. I knew that was coming.
I'm going to get messages immediately from that one. I can done tell. But yeah, he definitely keeps to remain the better Kevin. I mean, look at his average finish for this season. You can't compete with that.
Yeah, you guys. You guys were definitely on a roll all season long. I said it was. I say. I mean, obviously, it was just a couple laps away from it being the three of you and then Matt Quick. I say, but unfortunately, just the way things fell out that on that one, I say knocked him out of it. And I say, but he was right there in that mix as well in this one tonight. So, just hats off to all three of you guys. I say, week in and week out, you guys are always the ones to watch and to beat. And yeah, you guys were able to prove it again tonight. So. I'll say whichever order you guys want to go in. I'll let you guys go from there, but definitely want to give you guys the floor. Thanks and shouts you'd like to give for your results here tonight.
Yeah, huge thanks to you and Dale, all the admins who did all the work this year for the season. It was a pretty fun year, pretty competitive. We definitely all had to bring our A game for every race, and a huge shout out to the teammates. I mean, it's so much fun when you can come here every Sunday and know you got a really good shot of finishing top 5 and probably winning.
Yeah, I'll go along with what Kevin said there, and I just want to compliment all the other drivers too. I've just seen tremendous improvement of their strategies, and even tonight's race, they had us for the first 2 pit stops, and then I guess some unfortunate incidents there at the last pit stop. But the super speedway competitiveness has it's really come a long way. So hats off to those guys. Hats off to you guys for broadcasting. You guys do an awesome job, and a big shout out to Area 51. It's a fun league, great racing, and the guys do a fantastic job behind the scenes. They don't get enough credit, I think, but hats off to them.
Yeah, first off, I just got to thank all the guys of the team. Just being able to work with all these guys, it's never a dull moment. And really, even on nights that you get wrecked, it's really still not a bad night getting to work with these guys. And like how they said best, everybody in this league, especially on the super speedway side, has stepped their game up. So we gotta just keep raising our bar even that much higher. No mistakes, staying clean on and off pit road, and working together. You guys for the broadcast, same things Gabe said. All the admins for all the work they put in and all the awesome stuff we get to go through. And yeah, I reckon that's it. I gotta give a shout out to Larry though. One thing I gotta make sure I throw in there is, if you get a chance, send a YouTube video to him of the clip of the Cars movie where it says "You need tires, you idiot." It's a cool little underground thing I've got going on that's pretty funny for him.
All right, I say, and for Larry, I say, I'm sure you know where to send the hate mail, so you know where to find Mr. Hash. But yeah, again, just great job all season long, guys. Let's say you guys did everything you needed to do, and like I said, I mean, you guys kind of just you work together, and just like I said, the selflessness of all of you guys in that team. And so you guys were able to put that to good use again tonight, and put yourselves in that position with those top 3 for the finish there. So, yeah, definitely enjoy this one. I know we got a couple weeks off, kind of get everything squared away for season 8, and I say we'll be looking forward to seeing all 3 of you guys be battling out for that season 8 championship.
Appreciate it, Gail.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Dale, that is our season 7 championship. It's going to go to Kevin Hash. But I think you can kind of put all 3 of their names on that trophy there, honestly, just by the way we saw the way they worked together. Again, the selflessness of the 3 of them. I mean, I think honestly, the way it looks, if it would have been Kevin Freis that got out in front, it probably would have been him to officially win the championship, Gabe Butler as well. So I mean, just hats off to them. Just a great job all season long. But like I said, once that money stop hit, they did exactly what they needed to do, and capitalize on the mistakes of the other competitors. Unfortunately for them, but they were able to stay up front and get that job done tonight.
Yeah, it really has been a great season, and again, Congrats to Kevin Hash, Gabe Butler. I mean, everybody, especially that group of guys. They worked hard all season, and more so than what we show in the broadcast. Like, these guys are practicing a few times a week with each other, trying to figure these cars out, figure these tracks out, and it really showed throughout the entire season 7.
Yeah, exactly right. And again, like they mentioned as well, just hats off to all the drivers this season. We, like I said, we definitely have seen some pretty big gains and improvements from a lot of the drivers here. So I'm looking at the stats from the season. You got, so Kevin Hash, you got the 2 wins for him, 2 for Gabe Butler, 2 wins for Jim Brooks, 2 for Kevin Freis. Eric Laurie had a win. Chad Wilkes has a win. Quabi Brooks, Dude Conrad. So I mean, there was a lot of parity throughout the season. There was a lot of good drivers here tonight. They were able to get great finishes, and throughout the season as well. And I think a few drivers, they wouldn't get the overall season they were looking for, but I think just with what we saw from season 7 here, I think again a lot of these guys are going to ramp their game up just that little bit more for season 8. And say it's going to be very intriguing to see who are going to be the ones to kind of try to challenge that mantle these guys are throwing down week in, week out. All right, Dale. So that wraps up season number 7 for the Area 51 Racing League. That's going to be season 7 for all 3 series. So we're going to have a couple of weeks off after tonight. So we'll be kicking things off again back over here, however. So say definitely keep an eye out for that one. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the race tonight. It was, again, just hats off to all the competitors. A lot of fun. Larry, I'm sorry these guys won't stop harassing you. Dale and I we definitely have a huge amount of respect for what you're able to do week in, week out on that Thursday series. But again, I mean, what would friends be without ribboning each other as well? So, but yeah, Dale, always a pleasure. Looking forward to continuing this on with you on the Sunday series for season 8. So I know you'll be hopping in the driver's seat on Thursday. So I'm looking forward to broadcasting your races as well. So yeah, but thank you again, man. It's been a pleasure, and looking forward to getting things going again here in a few more weeks.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Looking forward to coming back season 8 on Sundays and being on the track on Thursdays in the Cup Series.
All right, so that's going to do it for us, everyone. Again, I hope you all enjoyed it. Enjoy the rest of your weekend that you've got remaining. Back to reality here in just a little bit. But yeah, I'll say we'll be taking a few races off, but definitely keep an eye out for some fun races that we'll be putting up, some recruiting races. If you're interested in doing any racing, Indy cars on Tuesdays, Cup cars on Thursdays, and then the Super Speedways on Sundays, you can find us at area51iracing.com. Of course, here with Green White Checker, we got a few things up our sleeves coming up for season number 8, so definitely keep an eye out for those. And yeah, so thank you all for watching. We'll catch you next time. And until then, have a good night, everybody.